Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm the Reverend William Levwood, affectionately known as Rev Lev. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm so happy that you decided to join us on this Earth Day Sunday for our worship. As we begin our service, I invite you, if you're in person, to silence your phone, and whether you're joining us in person or online, let's together take a deep breath as we center ourselves for worship. We open and welcome to the ancestral people of this land, acknowledging that our church, like all of Burke, rests on the unceded territory of the Manahoac tribe of the Great Sioux Nation. We seek healing and the realization of justice with the people of this land, who live on in their descendants, the present-day members of the Monacan Indian Nation, the Patawomic Indian Tribe of Virginia, and the Piscataway Indian Nation. We honor the ancestors as we move toward healing so that all together shall one day know full justice. And we invite you to this special Earth Day service, which was designed by myself in collaboration with our Green Sanctuary team, who focuses on climate justice work. And it's a multi-generational service, so our children and youth will remain in the sanctuary along with all of us rather than leave after the first 15 minutes as they normally do.
But here I am, your worship associate for the day. I'm Paulette Lichtman-Panzer. Together, we care in community, grow in spirit, and act for justice. And for me personally, those just three phrases are what sum up what we're all about. I know we have the long extended ones and all the rest of it, but caring, growing, and acting, so important. Whether you're a longtime member or a newcomer or something in between, we're glad you decided to join us today. I hope you got a name tag or have put your name on your Zoom name tag. We encourage everyone to stay for our social hour, and if you're here, you can get some coffee too. This is a reading called You and Me by Michael Tino, and I'm going to read this while Rev Lev lights our chalice. The interdependent web of existence is not just nature. It's not just frogs in Central America or rain in South Asia. The interdependent web of existence is you and me. It's everyone we know and everyone we don't know yet, and everyone we will never know. We pause in a moment of silence to feel those connections that tug on us, that pull at us, the connections that restore us to life. Pause a moment in silence and notice the connections that tug you.
So we're in our month of interdependence, but before that, we're going to put up a slide. We also last Sunday started our pledge drive. You can see that with the flags out in the foyer. And we've connected the rings of the Olympic rings with our mission statement. So Paulette mentioned some of the words from our mission statement. So we welcome, we care, we provide inspiration and growth, and we take action for justice. And today we're going to talk about taking action for climate justice. You have in your hymnals, we didn't read this week like we have in the past, but one of our proposed New UU values is to honor the web of life, the interdependent web of life. And we do that by protecting Earth and all beings. As you can see if you flip the card over. That's our commitment for action, to protect Earth and all beings. That's how we honor the interdependent web of life. So we're going to talk more about how to take those actions for climate justice today. We set the stage for that 2 Sundays ago, we talked about what is our place in the family of things. We looked at a Mary Oliver poem because Catholics study Mariology, but Unitarian Universalists study Mary Oliver. And we looked at our place in the family of things, and the idea that maybe our place is to be the soft animal that lets our body love what it loves, or perhaps just to let the soft animal of our body love. To be that spirit of love in the world. And part of that is reciprocity. We talked about the reciprocity of give and take that we have with each other and with the world, and how even if we're hurting, even if our heart is broken, we can still give and receive love. That even reaching out for support from someone else gives them the opportunity to give love back to us, and even when we're broken, we can still offer love. We shared that Robin Wall Kimmerer says that even our wounded, broken world still shows up to give us so many gifts. It's as if the earth itself is singing, I can do it with a broken heart. That's second Taylor Swift reference, if you didn't catch that. So, with that, we're going to move into the rest of our service with our story this morning, exploring how we can protect Earth and all beings.
So this morning we are reading Listen to the Earth by Carme Lemnis-Skatz. This nonfiction picture book offers a new and original story of climate change and how to respond to it. The lyrical narrative is built around the central concept of Earth Overshoot Day, the date each year when humanity has used all the resources the planet can regenerate in the entire year. Listen to the Earth by Carme Lemnis-Skatz. The Earth shines like a blue jewel in the immense, dark universe. It is our home. The Earth feeds us. It has nourished us through the long, long ages. The Earth shelters us. When we need wood to build houses, it gives us trees. But the Earth needs our help to grow more trees than we cut. When we need to warm or cool our homes, the Earth gives us fuel to burn. But we're burning too much coal, oil, and natural gas. And the Earth gives us fuel for our vehicles so we can zoom from place to place. But we are using too much. When we use resources faster than the Earth can make more, and we produce more waste than the Earth can absorb, we are borrowing from our precious planet's future. If we go on borrowing, the time will come when it is too late to repay that debt. We can find balance. The Earth whispers the way to hearts that listen. When we listen, we can find sustainable ways to move and travel. When we listen, we know how to make clean energy for healthy, sustainable cities. We know how to grow new forests and preserve habitats for the plants and animals on Earth. We know how to grow and harvest food so the Earth can keep nourishing us now and in the future. When we listen, we know how to be wise guardians of this precious planet we share. We know how to care for the Earth so the Earth can care for us.
So, many of you know that I love podcasts, and one of my favorite podcasts is called How to Save a Planet. In fact, even just the theme music puts me in a good mood. It feels like a Stevie Wonder song, the intro, just the piano and the horns. I love it. So on one of the How to Save a Planet episodes of that podcast, they answered a question from some of their listeners who asked, she said, my brother and I have an argument about whether individual actions is where we should put our focus or whether we need to focus on systemic change in order to address the climate crisis. So they decided to take that episode to address that question, and I'm going to share a lot of the wisdom that they brought up in that. So first of all, according to Catherine Wilkinson, who's the author of Drawdown, the book Drawdown, the reason, she says, that our individual choices don't matter much. And she said the reason is because most of the ways greenhouse gases get emitted are things that you and I don't have control over as individuals. So if we look at the global level, Wilkinson points out that greenhouse gases are coming from 6 sectors, or 6 basic categories. Electricity accounts for 25% of greenhouse gases. Another 25% comes from food and agricultural and land use. So that's 50% from making electricity and growing food. Another 20% comes from factories, industrial efforts, and that 20% doesn't count the electricity that those factories use. In fact, a lot of it is cement. Making cement itself uses up an enormous amount, puts forth an enormous amount of greenhouse gases. Transportation accounts for 15%. Buildings account for another 5%. And then the last 10% is from the extraction and processing of fossil fuels. So if we compare the total amount of global carbon emissions, right, all of that is systemic. So if we compare the total amount of global carbon emissions with an individual's carbon footprint, how much carbon each of us is putting into the atmosphere. By the way, the average American's carbon footprint is 16 tons. 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and closer to the collapse of our Earth. So the average American emits 16 tons of carbon each year. Lower income individuals emit less. Wealthy people emit more, as much as tens or hundreds times more. And also that Americans are wealthier than most people on the planet. So the average American's carbon footprint, just the average Americans, is 4 times that of the global average. So let's go back to that American average. Comparing each of our most likely total amount of global carbon emissions, comparing the global carbon emissions with each of our individual carbon footprints, we have 0.0000000003% of an impact through our individual actions on global climate emissions. That's a decimal point, 9 zeros, and then a 3. So I see the long faces, but on the podcast they say this is actually good news. Because rather than us having to do everything perfectly in order to address the climate crisis, we can work to change the system. And when we change the system, we change all of our carbon footprints all at once. And we know how to make these changes. Catherine Wilkinson says, thank goddess we don't have to rely on every individual getting everything right in their own lives. Alice Bloomberg, the host of the podcast, says, so basically the point is, screw your carbon footprint. Because when we're focused on that, we're not working on making systemic changes happen. They even point out on the podcast who really wants us to focus on our carbon footprint. If you go to BP's website, they're going to say, here's how you can figure out your carbon footprint. So, this being said, Catherine Wilkinson also says it is important to live our values. She says, I can't vote 3 times a day, but I do eat 3 times a day. So aligning our actions with our values matters. But we really want our actions to be focused outside of our individual carbon footprints. We need to draw the circle wider. Ayana Elizabeth Johnson, the other co-host of the podcast, advises us to think about our actions as a form of communication as an invitation for others to join us. Because then our actions can lead to other actions that lead to other actions that lead to other actions. And that ripple effect is what can actually make the changes that we need. So, the top 5 actions that can lower your carbon footprint, and then that you can share with others that you're doing these, are, controversially, have fewer children. That's number 1. Number 2, drive less, and when you drive, drive electric. Number 3, fly less. Number 4, become more energy efficient, like insulate your homes and put solar panels on your homes or on your church. And number 5, switch to a plant-based diet. So, fly less. Oi, Taylor. I love the new album, the new double album that you dropped on Friday night, or Thursday night in the middle of the night. I really do. But your cover of Leaving on a Jet Plane, it's just not doing it for me. Okay, I see the blank stares, the blank spaces in your faces looking back at me. There's actually no cover of Leaving on a Jet Plane on Taylor's new album, her new double album. But you may know that Taylor does jet set around in a private jet quite a bit, like when she flew overnight from Tokyo to LA and then on to Las Vegas just so she could watch her boyfriend win the Super Bowl. So yeah, Taylor, maybe don't do that anymore, okay? Although, wait a second, wait. I'm just remembering that our individual carbon footprints don't really matter that much. And I did the math. So even if Taylor's overall carbon footprint, not just from flying, but from her house in Nashville, and the one in Manhattan, and the one in LA, and I guess now the one in Kansas City, even if Taylor were to lower her carbon footprint, which let's just estimate might be as much as 1,000 times the average American's, it would only take away 3 zeros from that minuscule percentage, making a 0.000003% impact on global carbon emissions. Still, not really going to make the difference. So actually, you're good. You're good, Taylor. You're fine. Oh, but wait another minute. There is this study by climate researcher Steve Westlake that shows that 75% of people who know someone who chooses to fly less have also changed their attitudes about flying. 75% of people who are flying less know someone who's flying less, which can help move forward policy changes. This is what we really need to do, is move forward policy changes like the proposed frequent flyer tax proposed in Germany, which would progressively tax people who fly more, tax them more. Sorry, Taylor. Not only might you be taxed for that jet setting around at some point, but your flying is giving exactly the wrong message to all your millions of followers. You might want to follow Greta Thunberg's example and take a boat to your remaining tour dates in Europe, where we really, really hope you'll be performing some of the songs from the new double album. Okay, I'm officially no longer a Swiftie. I hereby declare the post-mortem on my Swiftiedom. Yeah, I'm going to be, from now on, I'm a Greetin. You get it? Cretin, Greetin, Greta. Okay, maybe I'll be a Thunbergian? All right, well, still got to work on the sticky name for it, okay? But back to Taylor taking that boat to Europe. I mean, just imagine. I know it will take longer, but just imagine you and Travis chilling on the boat. You and Travis and your mom and dad and the band and the dancers and the backup singers, everyone just having a good time together on that nice, long, relaxing, lazy river of a boat ride to Europe. And you can write us some more songs. You'll have more time for that too. And then tell us that you took the boat, right? That's the important part. According to Dr. Anthony Leiserowitz, he runs the Yale Center for Climate Communication. But nonetheless, he says the single most important thing you can do, first and foremost, to affect climate change is to talk about it. Talk about it. You think other people don't want to talk about it. You think there's a lot of climate deniers out there. There actually aren't. Most people want to address the climate crisis, and that means they want to talk with you about it. And talking about it, and talking about what actions we're taking is how we draw the circle wide. It's how we welcome people into a larger movement where we draw the circle wide and then we draw it wider still. So when you talk about it, be welcoming in how you talk about it too. Don't be like that vegan that I shared about months ago, that my child watched a YouTube video of an influencer who was critiquing this vegan's critiquing of the influencer's original post, where the vegan was such a jerk about everybody who wasn't a vegan that it didn't make anybody want to be a vegan. Okay, don't do that. Welcome people into the movement. Become what I like to call an EnVIRALmentalist. An EnVIRALmentalist. We need to spread climate action like COVID. Let's make a global pandemic of climate action. Okay, maybe that's not the best campaign. But let's be climate communicators. Let's not only take actions, but share those actions with others so we have a ripple effect, because that's how our actions make a difference. So the point is, if we're just feeling good about ourselves because we've lowered our carbon footprint, we shouldn't be feeling good about ourselves. That's not really helping. 0.000000003%. That's all it's doing. But if we take action and then we share that action with others, and we're going to help you do that a little bit later in the service, then we become climate communicators, we become EnVIRALmentalists, and then the changes, the actions that we're making ripple out and really make change.
Hey, I'm Lisa, and I'm going to talk about our activity today. So on your chairs, you should see this Venn diagram, and this will help you find your climate action. So there's 3 different circles, and they're all important, but my favorite is what brings you joy, because we're talking about climate action that you will keep on doing for a lifetime. This isn't, just a today thing or an Earth Day thing. We want this to be sustainable for ourselves too. And then there's the circle about what needs doing, and we just heard about some of the big changes, so the way you travel, what you eat, and also the way you use energy, and then what you're good at. And so you can really just list, all your different skills, and I love how these 3 circles bring it together. So I'll just share some of mine. What brings me joy? I love dance, I love to eat food, I like to try new things. And so at first, that might not seem related at all to climate. But then what am I good at? I'm good at going down rabbit holes. So I can spend a lot of time thinking about, a particular topic. I'm good at planning. And I like to try new things. And so bringing that together with what needs doing, I've done some home upgrades. So I got a heat pump water heater. I got an electric car. We got solar. We got an induction stove, an EV charger, so happy to talk about any of those changes if you're considering those. Other things, I eat mostly plant-based, not 100% plant-based, but a lot more, vegetarian and vegan foods, and it's fun because you can try new cooking. And then what else brings me joy? Oh, also some things I've decided not to do. We don't have a second car. And sometimes that's a little inconvenient. I'll have to share a ride or wait, to take the car, but that also helps out. So yeah, I really hope, I thought this was a great activity. It comes from that podcast, How to Save a Planet. There's also a book, All We Can Save, which also talks about this and other other great actions. So yeah, just wanted to share that. I'm happy to talk more if you have any questions about those, or if you want to share your ideas too. And there's some examples on the tables here at the side of my own and of Dale's also. So thanks so much.
Yeah, so we're going to take about 5 minutes for you to just focus on filling out your climate. So hopefully you have them on your chair. If not, they are at these tables. I'll share another example. Some of the things that bring me joy is designing worship services like this, and also thinking theologically, and also Taylor Swift songs. What am I good at? I think I'm good at designing worship and good at thinking theologically. What needs doing? I think we need a theological framework for climate justice and kind of a religion that moves us to care for the earth. So my climate action is that I'm going to write climate action songs to the tune of Taylor Swift songs. So wait for those. They'll be coming your way soon. So that's just an example. So you get your diagrams. We're going to take about 5 minutes for you to start to fill these out. Start with what you love. What brings you joy, okay? Because you want to keep doing it. So I see some of you are still writing, so go ahead, keep working on it. This is life work. You can continue to work on it through the rest of the service. You can work on it after you leave here this morning. But also, remember, our job, if we're going to really address the climate crisis, is not just to take climate actions, but to share those climate actions with others to create a ripple effect. So anybody want to share about their Venn diagram and what it's called them to do in actions? I've got a mic. Who wants to share? Start that ripple right now. Be an EnVIRALmentalist. Spread your action just like COVID. You're not going to forget it, right? Anybody? Lisa shared about putting solar panels on her house and other upgrades and eating more plant-based diet. Yeah.
So do we share a little bit of everything?
A little,
or just our,
however you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what brings me joy? Being outdoors, like yoga, the woods, family, my puppy, my husband, my daughters. What am I good at? Organizing, creating positive spaces. I love to purge, be resourceful. What needs doing? Well, I'm cleaning out my mother-in-law's house that passed away. So we're trying to make a lot of positive choices in that effort. Recycle, reuse, give to people. For a climate action plan, I think, just making a positive impact when we have choices to make, that they're sustainable living choices. And then being proactive in sharing my choices to create the ripple effect. Because even with recycling, like 15 years ago, I didn't recycle, and now I feel a personal responsibility to do that. Even if it's just a little act,
Exactly.
It matters.
Yes. So we want that ripple effect so that all these other climate actions become automatic, just like recycling is automatic now. Who else? Oh, yeah.
You reminded me of an overlap, because one of the things that brings me joy is connections with other people and recycling. I'm on a couple of recycling groups, like the Buy Nothing group and the Free Cycle, and I love that because it's something that needs doing, and I can meet my neighbors. Yes. It's hyper local. Yes. So love it.
Awesome. Yeah. So being on groups that recycle and encourage each other. I'm not getting a lot of hands. We can just. Oh, here we go. People love this part of the service when we do this more than anything else.
So for joy, I enjoy, and I do get joy from games, from just sharing and teaching, getting people to, increase understanding, discovery, and I like breathing in nature. It's usually a very quiet, personal thing for me. And what am I good at is engineering, studying, and exploring. And what needs doing has been, for me, increase awareness. And I don't know how I'm pulling those together yet, but I'm thinking about it.
Awesome, yeah, so increasing awareness, and Tim's work still to do is to think about how's he gonna do that? What's the actual action? Beautiful, thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing an incomplete one for all the rest of us. I'm gonna go here first, and then I'll come to Suzanne next. Hold it really, really close.
I said what brings me joy is writing stories, and what I'm good at is also writing stories, and what needs doing is spreading awareness and action. And I thought for climate action, we could spread awareness by doing stuff.
Awesome. And I'm imagining some climate-changing, planet-saving stories in the future, yeah? Will you write us some of those? Yeah. I know.
One of my joys is walking in the woods, and I'm
Can you hold it a
aware-
little closer?
And I'm aware that when I do walk in the woods, that I have a real passion for taking care of those woods. And part of what I am doing, and I hope offers a ripple effect, is leading young people, mostly who need community service hours for school, on invasive management work days in our woods for the Fairfax County Park. And I end each of those days with such a statement like, there's not very much you can do as an individual to fix things in the world, but this little tiny place that you're in today, helping
what's
your
help?
small piece of your life in your world will have an effect in the bigger picture. So that message, I hope, gets passed around.
Beautiful. I'm going to move us along just in terms of time, but thank you, Suzanne. And that's a good example of when we spend time in nature, it grows our desire to care for the earth, and then we can do things to care for the earth in nature and encourage people to continue to do those actions.
This is a reading from Robin Wall Kimmerer. Sometimes I wish I could photosynthesize so that just by shimmering in the meadow's edge or floating lazily on the pond, I could be doing the work of the world while standing silently in the sun.
Good morning. I have a confession. Well, first off, can you make a confession?
Case in point, you're about to.
My confession is I have nothing on Taylor Swift, nothing. So just bear with me, I'll get through this and we can get back to Taylor Swift. No, I'm not gonna sing. Next Saturday. Greetings, I'm Dale Howell and my pronouns are he, him. I am a member of the AUUC Board of Directors and the co-chair of Building and Grounds. For this week, my pledge testimonial will be merged with the board host duties. Here's the reasons I increased my pledge to this beloved congregation. For 37 years, I worked for IBM and Lockheed Martin. What did I do for the world? I made money for stockholders. While I liked the work, and of course the compensation, there were zero opportunities for spiritual fulfillment. This church gives me an opportunity to give back, whether it's in big or small ways. As co-lead of Building and Grounds with Ed Kringer, we are responsible for maintaining, improving, and greening the facility with goals of beautifying the sanctuary, improving accessibility, continuing to reduce energy consumption, and obtaining facility Energy Star certification. That was a mouthful. A PV solar system is a critical element of our planning, and we have a great approach to share with the members. Please talk with us during the social hour or in future weeks for details. Some of you may recall my plan to build a food garden so that we can provide veggies for the food insecure and the nutritionally impoverished. Stay tuned for more on the food garden in the months ahead. The untimely loss of Dick Robeson as a Building and Grounds chair revised my priorities for this year. While I pray my work with Building and Grounds makes a positive impact on the world, or at least this congregation, I must admit that it benefits me immensely, as it gives me a purposeful way of being engaged. Not to mention the community and camaraderie that comes from working together with the treasured Building and Grounds team. But there's an innate reason, not inane, no, scratch that. There's an innate reason for my dedication to Building and Grounds, honoring my father. For most of his adult life, my father spent several hours a week maintaining and improving his church. It took me years to realize that it was my calling as well. This was the missing piece of the puzzle of my life. To do my part to advance the mission of this church, I'm honored to increase my pledge and get my gold medal.
It's coming. I don't have it right now.
Now to pivot to the board host duties. Unitarian Universalist congregations thrive on the generosity of members and friends. Two of our soon-to-be adopted values are interdependence and generosity, such that we are joyful to share with our neighbors and community. AUUC's April Outreach Collection is for Paws for People, a nonprofit that raises, trains, and places assistance dogs with active duty military veterans, many diagnosed with PTSD, and children living with disabilities. Many of the pups are trained by inmates in 2 West Virginia correctional centers. Paws for People transform the lives of men and women inmates who train the dogs, and in turn, the lives of the clients who receive them. Please consider giving online using the donate button on the website or by mail check with the outreach in the memo line. Thank you.
I just want to make sure people heard in Dale's testimonial, the reason why we've been using so much sun and sunshine imagery, we're working to have solar panels for this church. And when we were planning this service, Dale said, what do you want me to say to promote the pledge drive during the service? I said, tell him how much money we have to raise for the solar panels. And he said, none. That's right, none. We're able to get money as a loan, and then the solar power will pay back the loan, so we're actually likely to make money off of getting solar panels. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Okay, so a couple announcements. If you want to get more involved in climate action, as I hope you do, there's going to be a table in the back that Green Sanctuary is hosting to let you know about how you can get more involved in taking climate action. There's also so much happening today. In addition to our social hour, you can go have your social hour outside. There's going to be a tea with lemonade and iced tea and cookies in our nearly native garden. So I encourage you to go out there and enjoy fellowship in our garden. There's also a meal pack today, so about 15 minutes after we start our social hour, we will have our meal pack. Remember, take your time, it's not a race. When we rush through it, we make mistakes, and then the packs need to be redone. So take your time. Remember why we're doing it. It's to feed others in our community who otherwise wouldn't have food. And be sure, just as when you're welcoming people into joining you in taking climate action, we want to welcome and encourage others who are participating in our meal pack, especially if they're new to it. There's also, if anyone's interested, ask me about the Voice Potluck that's happening today and core team training. That's at 2 p.m. It's not here. But if you're interested, I'll let you know more information about that so that we can continue to do the work we do with that Justice Coalition. Also, Accotink's Got Talent is coming up on Saturday, April 27th. So that's next Saturday, right? Am I doing that right? Next Saturday. So, today we talked about the kind of like our talent show for the earth, right? Like what are our joys and talents that we can use to save the earth? This one is just for fun, just to do your talent.
Which Taylor Swift song are you doing?
I hesitate to say this. I wasn't planning on doing a Taylor Swift song, but I was listening to I Can Do It With a Broken Heart the other day and imagining myself doing that in drag as JVN, not as Taylor. So that's what I'm going to try to prepare in the 6 weeks we have, is a drag version of 6 days. What did I say? So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. I can't believe I just made that commitment. Okay. It's going to be a busy week. Okay. So Accotink's Got Talent, Saturday, April 27th in the evening. And then the next day we have our service celebrating Passover with reflections from members. And then in the afternoon, there's a family-friendly Seder. So today is the last day for you to let Paulette know by email or telling her at social hour or sending her a text, however you want to do it, letting her know that you want to participate. Cost for food is $10 per adult. $20 per adult, $10 per child. Let Paulette know if you want to participate. If the money is a barrier, just let Paulette know and we'll make it work. We don't want it to be a barrier, but we do want to pay for the wonderful meal and food that goes with that. And then looking even further afield, we have other events for our pledge drive and a game night and our Beltane celebration. All of that's in May. And speaking of our pledge drive, I'd like to invite Liz Prescott up to share about our pledge drive.
Hello. I'm on the pledge committee this year. So I didn't realize this, but I picked a really great week to give the update because this is our first week and this is the week when people who already knew how much they were going to give and who are kind of our core givers give. So it's pretty great, the numbers already. We have already raised almost $92,000 in pledges. I did the math, that's about 29% of our goal. That's with just 22 pledges, which is about a quarter of what we expect. So, I just want to applaud the people who have already pledged, because that's our foundation. Those are people who are very committed to this community and already knew what they were going to give. I have a theory that the rest of us just need some time to consider how much to give, so I wanted to make an offering of, as you think about that, I talk about bell hooks a lot. So I'm gonna quote her again in her definition of love. She's actually quoting somebody else, some guy. Love is something like the will to extend oneself for the sake of our own or another's spiritual growth. And I'm going to commit to, and I invite all of you to consider what amount feels like an act of love.
Wonderful, thank you. So pledge the amount that feels like an act of love. Hopefully that's 5 or even 10% more than you pledged last year. Remember, Bell Hooks said extending love, widening the circle. But whatever feels like an act of love, pledge. And Dale wants the gold medal. You too can get a gold medal if you pledge in the next week. After that, you get a silver medal if you pledge later. But or a bronze medal if you pledge even later than that. So if you want the gold medal as well as the love, pledge this week. Whatever amount, just you get the gold medal for when you pledge. So pledge this week. I do not know if there's a pledge table set up, but you can pledge online as well, which is actually what we prefer if you're willing to do it that way. The form is so simple. Some people might have noticed that we had last year's form up, but if you pledged, we just fixed it so that it applies to this year, and now it's fixed so that if you follow the link in the newsletter, and we'll see if we have some of the QR codes as well, so you could just do it from your phone right here, right now, today. So with that, and the reminder to stay for our social hour, either here or out at the Nearly Native Garden, we're going to extinguish our chalice, or pretend to, with our closing words.
Please rise now in body or spirit. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences and beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity. Now that we've gathered together in this welcoming and inclusive spiritual home, let us go out into the world, nourished, rejuvenated, and inspired to share our wonderful values. Thank you.